This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com, and I am with WWE, WCW, and ECW legend, the franchise, Shane Douglas, here at Markout at the Meadowlands.
Yeah, first one, right? Usually the first convention, any first one, takes a while to get some traction, but you can see the traffic's been great today, so another big night.
Well, it helps that the two-man power trip guys and Triple Threat podcast, I guess you're also part of that podcast,
right,
help put it together so you guys can plug it on your podcast.
Yeah, and we do. Those guys, I give those guys the credit because they do all the production work, and they're the ones that hit the stuff. Usually, I'm not even sure where I am this coming weekend, and they'll say, we're going to be this weekend. I got to look at my phone real quick, to see. But yeah, those guys are pretty good at what they do. Chad and John Boz, they do a great job.
Now, we're going to do a part 2 interview with you one of these days because your first one has great reaction. People still talk to me about it all the time. I am going to get you to tell the full Carl Ouellet story on that part 2. But what do you think that he actually got a match at Madison Square Garden last night at 51 years old?
Oh, fantastic, right? I mean, I've always, Carl's a great guy. Him. I mean, he's a great guy, right? And that's what made that story, as I watched it unfold back in the day, it appalled me. Not just that it was Carl, who was a friend of mine, not that it was just him, but that it was happening to him, to any professional, in a place like that, all because he wanted to do what the boss wanted, what the boss said to do. So if he got a match last night, fantastic for him.
What are your thoughts on what happened with Bret Hart last night? Because the moment I saw that, it flashed through my head, what would have happened if that happened in ECW, and it would have been...
Good Lord, I mean, the lawsuits would probably still be going on, but, look, it's stupid for anybody to jump the railing. Somebody, I don't know if it's true, somebody told me that the guy's an MMA fighter, was trying to make a name for himself. Cue for you young MMA fighters out there, young wrestlers, you're not going to make a name for yourself by jumping a 60-plus-year-old guy that's had a stroke and survived cancer. Just stupid, but the other side of this, Chad was showing me a picture of the guy afterwards, right? I'm sure there's going to be lawsuits out of it because, security has a right to corral you out of the building, but they don't have the right to beat you to a pulp. And if the WWE guys did that, I didn't see a second of it. I just saw the one picture. But if that's what's happened, there's going to be lawsuits.
Well, he was being held, actually, when numerous people attacked him. So, yeah, I've done security for many years, and if he's fighting you, you can hit back. But the moment he's restrained, you can't do anything about it. So it will be interesting to see what happens. And what are your thoughts on the state of wrestling right now? We got AEW opening up, MLW on the lower levels, Impact on the lower levels, then WWE is still going strong. What are your thoughts on the state of their business?
Well, I think right now, WrestleMania weekend is a really tough weekend to judge as a barometer. But if you look at the rest of the year, I get pictures sent to me all the time, texted and emailed to me of TV tapings going on for WWE, and you see, the top layer being canvassed out and building, like the old WCW days, the crowd being moved to one side of the building. But at WrestleCon this year, something happened that's never happened any other year. I had people from Germany, Italy, France, Scotland, England, Australia, California, and Florida. Those were the first, about 30 people in all, saying that they had come just for WrestleCon and were not going to WrestleMania. That's a very bad sign for WWE, I think. But you mentioned AEW. They have an incredibly unique, great opportunity right now. The business, I believe, has been sitting on a silver platter for years, waiting for somebody to take it. But I say with a caveat, if they go out and mimic other recent incarnations, TNA, Ring of Honor, even ECW, that had already been done. The wrestling fans that have left our industry, the 97-98% that have left because there's no wrestling in it. There's no storyline being told. It's become what we call spot monkey, right? If they go down that avenue, they'll fail. If they try to be super WWE or WWE 2, they'll fail. There are a lot of fans out there. I hope Tony Khan is listening because he has a unique opportunity. If he goes down the right path, the keys to the kingdom are his.
You think there's any chance that you could be hired on as a producer there? I mean, you worked behind the scenes in TNA, ECW. I know you were involved in the Backstage. You were, for a long time, you almost had a company that was about to start. I don't know what the status is of that, but would you be open to working with AEW?
Well, and this is not me patting myself on the back, I don't think there's anybody on the planet that has more experience preparing to run a wrestling company. I've put about 6,000 hours into it over the last several years, and I've found out it's very difficult. It takes a lot of money, and it's very difficult to get something moving like that. Look, in this business, you never say never. I would be willing to, for anybody, provide my services and the experience that I've amassed over the years. Like you said, not only have I been the wrestler, I was the guy, even when I was a kid, I remember wanting to learn all aspects of my business. That was how Eddie Gilbert lured me back into being, coming back out of retirement when I had retired then, by offering me the lead heel position, which I'd never been. So that was the hook that pulled me back into the business, because I always wanted to learn every aspect. So I have booked, I have created characters, I have promoted, I have done all the aspects of our business, produced segments, all of those things. So I helped the kids like AJ and Bobby Roode with their promos. I've done all those things. So right now we have, I think it's a huge avenue. It's wide open. The question is, how's it going to be filled? And looking at Tony Khan's resume, I'd say it's pretty successful. It looks to me like he's got everything in place to do the right way. And let's face it, Cody and the Young Bucks have done incredible things with social media. Really opened a complete different front on the wrestling. The way we all saw wrestling as being television or print ad, they've opened a complete different front on that war. So they have a lot of opportunity. You never say never in this business. I had not been contacted, but it's obviously been listening to any offer.
But you never had any heat with Dusty Rhodes or anything like that might carry over to Cody?
No. In fact, the first time I remember meeting Cody, I know Dustin, of course, inside out. We've been friends for years. But the first time I met Cody, he came up to me and said, "So there's a really polite young man, just incredibly respectful," as we all were taught in the business coming up. Dusty and I learned so much from Dustin and was saddened when he passed away, because I hadn't known he'd been sick. But Dusty, if you've ever listened to my interviews, you'll hear me say Bill Watts, Dusty, Paul Heyman, the things that I learned from those guys as bookers, what I took from them and watched them, how they worked. Why did they push this guy over that guy or this woman over that woman? And you see that there's a real science to what it is they're doing. Dusty and I always got along great. In fact, Dusty was the reason I got into WCW after I left ECW. He had been on Mike Tenay's show, and Mike called me and said, "Did you hear Dusty on the show last night?" And I hadn't, so I went back and listened to the archive, and Dusty said that he was being asked about, like, people from my generation, what about Brian Pillman and Steve Austin? And when he came to Shane Douglas, he said, "I really believe Shane Douglas is the Ric Flair of his generation." So I called Dusty to thank him. We hadn't spoken in years at that point. And I called him to thank him, and he said, "You mind if I bring your name up at a production meeting?" So that's how it all began. Dusty and I got along great and always did. I think not only do I miss him, the fans miss him, but the wrestling business really misses Dusty right now.
So, of course, people can listen to you on the Triple Threat podcast. I understand you're going to be at the big convention in Virginia next month as well. Do you want to fill fans in on that?
Yeah, it's in Richmond, Virginia. We're going to be down there doing the same thing that we've been doing at WrestleCon and here at the Mark out at the Meadowlands. So this, I think, is the third TMPT con down there. So I was supposed to be there last year. My agent double booked me, so luckily my podcast partners understood and allowed me to go to the other booking to make good on that. So yeah, we'll be down there next month and looking forward to it.
And you are on Twitter. Do you want to fill us in on your social media?
Yeah, at the Franchise SD for Twitter. Shane the Franchise Douglas on Facebook. I've been horrible lately getting on the social media since I've been so busy, but looking forward to getting back on there hopefully this week to get back and get that ball rolling again. But we've had a great turnout on social media.
Well, thanks for catching up with us, and I hope that some of the fans watch this and follow him on social media, because his opinions are always interesting. And AEW, I would love to see pick up a guy like Shane, because he's definitely one of the wrestling geniuses that are out there. So thanks for speaking with us, and I hope you have a safe trip back.
Thank you, brother. It's always great to talk to you, man. Good seeing you. Thank you, bud.